Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to my DraftKings DFS slate breakdown. If you're wondering why this video is going to be uploaded a little bit earlier than my usual ones, it's because it is Halloween today. I'm recording, which is super exciting. But yeah, so this video will be uploaded slightly earlier than my usual time. Hope it doesn't affect you guys too much. It really shouldn't. But let's just talk about the slate here, and it is a beefy 5 game slate here, which is super exciting. Considering we've been having what three match Premier League slates here last couple weeks, just kind of sucks. But with the 5 gamer, there's a ton of ways to go. Super exciting slate. The big favorite you can obviously see is Arsenal, but then you've got like minus odds in Crystal Palace, Brighton, Fulham, all have favorable matchups, and then of course Man United too, who are plus odds against Forest, but like there'll be plenty of options to pick from these games. Now, getting into that, let's just talk about some goal contribution odds here, as you expect. Like a bunch of Arsenal guys are minus odds: Jokeres, Eze, Saka, Marino. But you got like guys like no one in Man United, like Cunha plus 100 and Bournemouth plus 130, like guys who are like plus 100-ish in the Man United game, which makes some sense considering Nottingham Forest are going to be just defensively a lot more solid under Sean Dyche. You got like Mateta minus odds, been in great form. Brighton, a bunch of guys on plus odds there, which kind of makes some sense considering how close this game could be. And then Fulham, Wolves, which a bunch of guys at plus odds as well. But yeah, all like plus 100-ish, which is just not a huge difference here. Over like the minus 100 to plus 100, it's just not a ton. Like there are ways to get off of those Arsenal guys for sure. Projected lineups now and potential set pieces for Brighton. This team, it should be De Kuyper and Ayari. If De Kuyper doesn't go, like we see like Kadioglu left back or something, Minte should be the guy who ends up splitting with Ayari in that scenario. Leeds should be mostly Sean Longstaff. Burnley should be Hartman and Anthony. Arsenal, Saka and Rice. Crystal Palace should be Wharton and Kamada. Brentford should be mostly Damsgaard. He takes both sides of the corners. However, you see like Henderson takes some free kicks here and there. Fulham should be mostly Lukic. However, there's Kevin here who sometimes takes a corner or two off the bench, or in last case in the EFL Cup, he took another couple corners, like 8 crosses from open play. He's a pretty interesting player. We'll talk about him a little bit more when we get into pricing here. For Wolves, it should be mostly Arias. Maybe Bueno takes a corner or two though, or some free kicks. For Forest, it should be mostly Douglas Luiz. However, like Deitch is still settling in. I wouldn't be surprised if they mixed up set pieces. That's a super kind of big part of how he plays. He likes to get corners, likes to lump that ball into the box. Usually he goes like a righty lefty split. However, there's like no true left footed player in this Forest lineup. I think may scupper his claims a little bit. I think Maria is like the only left footed player in this entire lineup. I don't really see him taking corners. Like Luis Monopoly, I think is most likely, but like I said, like he's still settling in. Especially if they switch to like Anderson or Hudson Odoi, even like Gibbs White for set pieces. Then for Man United should be Mbumo and Bruno Fernandez. All right, now let's get into our pricing here. And the most expensive first name you see is Bukayo Saka at 9,700. Really burned us last weekend. It was only like a 4-point performance in Crystal Palace against Crystal Palace, which should have been just a smash matchup on paper. But he got subbed early, just didn't really produce. However, I'm not gonna judge that too much. Like people just have off games. You look at like his previous games in Fulham, West Ham, 20 points back to back there. The only issue, of course, is that it is a UCL window. So Arsenal are going to have a midweek game, which can be scary. It could lead to an early sub for Saka. But I think that was the same case with his Fulham game. I think he had Fulham away, then he had a Champions League game, then he played Crystal Palace. He went 90 that game and 90 in the Champions League. So like I'm happy to continue taking a risk on Bukayo Saka. He's just such a solid DFS player, tons of upside, like one of the best goal contribution odds on the slates too. So like that upside, that floor, I think it's hard to get off of Bukayo Saka here. I still think he's the best player on the slate despite his poor showings last weekend. After that, it's like Cunha at 9K. I don't love the matchup. I worry that Forest could be too solid for Man United to break down. I think it's more of a game where you can maybe target their kind of floor set piece guys and kind of your upside plays like Acuna, just because I don't really see Man United getting enough goal contributions here to kind of maybe risk him. Minte, on the other hand, it's 8,600. I think that could be a pretty tempting option, especially if you see no De Kuyper. Like I said, it should lead to him having set pieces in that scenario. But even if he doesn't, even if De Kuyper does start left back, Look at his, like, he has this thing, has a ton of open play floor. He like takes a ton of crosses from open play, gets shots, gets key passes. Like he's had so many just solid floor games. His worst one was against Man United at 6.5. But other than that, like he's just been so solid for so long. And Leeds is a pretty favorable matchup. I like him a lot here. No Jokeres, he's pretty cheap at 7,300. The issue with him is he is just boom bust all the way. He has the best goal contribution odds on the slate at -140. So if you maybe lean towards it being more of a boom Jokeres game. However, like the risk, of course, is that if he does do anything, I can get 4 sub 1 point. Wouldn't be surprised in the heat of against Crystal Palace. And it is a Champions League like we talked about earlier. So there is a chance that he gets subbed early as well. Although he really hasn't been. The Jokeres, he definitely can be worth the risk. I think this guy you gotta have to make a decision on whether you take a chance on him with that favorable matchup and hope that he gets a goal contribution or two to get there. And at that 7K price, he probably needs like one goal, and he'll just pay off instantly. But Tetas 900, I don't mind him as a GPP play. I don't think it'd be very owned in cash like whatsoever. It's because people are probably more likely to target the Arsenal guys, but like, he can have those ceiling games. Like that game is for 11 shots. That is crazy. He had a hat trick. I think he like missed a sitter too. He could have had another goal easily and had like 60 points, which has been just awesome to see. But I think he's a pretty little tempting option here. As we saw, he was like one of the only guys with minus odds to goal contribution outside of the Arsenal players. So yeah, I think Mateta quite a bit here as well. After that, I think Jade Anthony, just a tough matchup. You know, I usually like him quite a bit. Thiago, I think, is fine as a little GPP striker. And now Kevin, who at 5,500, I think it's a solid little option. Look at the floor he's getting in the limited minutes. Like he's like averaging like, I don't know, what is it, 2 points per 10 minutes, which means if he goes 9, he's on track like an 18-point floor game. Like he had 6 and 1/2 against Newcastle. I think he's just a super entertaining player. He's going to be super solid for DFS when he gets a chance to start, like he is in projected here. I think Kevin could be a guy that we're going to really enjoy picking, and we're going to regret not playing him at this 5,500 price tag. He gets no set pieces. Like he just has so much open play value. He just looks like a super talented player. Like I don't know what's a good comparison to him. I don't know. Like Minte is probably a very good comparison. He's very similar to Minte. He'll take corners here and there, but he just has so just awesome open play value. Gets goal contributions, gets floor just from just doing stuff just in the open field. Doesn't need set pieces for his floor. And I think 5,500. That's a solid option here. I like him quite a bit if we see him starting. After that, not a ton. I think those are kind of the big names I want to talk about at forward. Midfielder, on the other hand, I think it's a lot more difficult here. Like there's Bruno, pretty solid option. Eze, pretty solid option, kind of like your upside Arsenal GBP play, or not GBP, even in cash. I don't think it's that crazy to go him, but just lack of floor, I think a little bit is his issue. Damsgaard, 1,700. He's been great for Brentford. Almost like their whole team. Look at how good he's been. Had a couple of off games here and there against the Manchester teams. Other than that, he's just been great. Declan Rice, always pretty solid. Great floor. Gets a ton of set pieces for Arsenal. Longstaff's been great for Leeds. Like all these names are very playable. It's hard to kind of pick between them. I don't think there's a ton of edge just because they're all good. Like they can all get there. It's a little bit of kind of variance whether how many goal contributions these guys get, how many corners they just end up having for a lot of these guys. But like they're all good plays. Kind of the big names. Lukic. The issue with him is maybe his upside doesn't kind of um keep up with some of those other options. But he got that goal against Newcastle. Had an assist against Aston Villa. So like he does have potential, especially if we get like this lineup here where this Chelsea has just like a straight monopoly, which like is super tempting for this matchup home to Wolves. And Wolves have like the bottom of the whole table. Like they've looked awful. And so even though he's been priced up a little bit here, I think that's a solid little option here. He's another mid that I'd throw into that category with those other guys, and he's a little cheaper than a lot of them too. So trade-offs there, maybe not the upside, but a little bit cheaper. So kind of just pick your guys here in mid. Like there's so many really great options here. After him, if you're looking for cheaper options, I don't know. I think I mentioned most of the guys that I'm super tempted by. Like true value plays. I don't know. Maybe Gibbs White for GBP. I think could make some sense. 5K. That's not awful to me. Took a pen as well. John Arias, who continues to burn me. whenever I play. He's been just okay. Problem is, movements are just so bad. They don't get a ton of goal contributions, which really caps his upside. And he's been getting subbed quite a bit too. But he has games where he's solid, like 13, 12. He just his floor isn't that sustainable because of how poor Wolves are. Just how much they get dominated at times. Just how little goal contributions they get. It kind of hurts John Arias quite a bit. But at 4,700, like, I'll happily continue to go back to that. I will have shares in BBB for sure. I'm even playing my cash team depending on how salary distribution looks and how much I need that for 4K price point. But like I'll continue to go back to John Arias, even if he continues to underperform slightly. He's just so cheap that like you think of the spot monopoly set piece taker, it's hard to argue with, especially being an attacker too, who should have more upside than he showed so far. After that, Kamada 3,900, I think makes some sense here. Josh King could be a decent DPP play. Yeremy Pino, I think, makes some sense as well, who was awesome against Liverpool. I know it was like Liverpool's like what reserve team practically a lot of the young kids in. But he was really good. I think that could have been a breakout game for him. Will Hughes, cheap set piece taker if he starts. Wharton, same thing. I must have missed Wharton, but I'm sure he's in like the same ballpark price range. Oh, he's out, so it should be Will Hughes over Wharton. They're similar players anyway, so I don't think it makes a huge difference. But yeah, those are kind of the punt of mids I'm thinking about, and it just shows how stacked this range is. It's really at every price point, there's like a very viable mid option. Defenders now, I think it's a pretty weak defender slate. Like Timber's kind of the big name here at 6K. He's been just good for Arsenal. It helps that they keep so many clean sheets. He almost starts like an extra 3 to his score. It's quite a bit of goal contributions. He's another guy who goes up 4 corners for Arsenal, which they're so prolific on. So he could get a goal contribution from one of those. Gets up just playing right back too. So he's just a solid little player here. 6K price range is kind of the only issue with him. He's a little bit expensive. After that, Bueno, usually solid for Wolves. Set piece taking. Yeah, you got many crosses. Yeah, it's probably 12 crosses. That's awesome to see. You see that so rarely in the Premier League these days. Guys just whip it in all the time. But Bueno is one of those guys. So he's a solid little option here. Hartman, set piece taker. The issue with him is that it is just away Arsenal, which is a tough matchup. You worry how many set pieces he might have, but like he's not a bad little play. Dorgu, I like as a player, 4,800. He's pretty solid. Calafiori, another Arsenal exposure piece. There's Gabriel. It's hard to argue against these guys because once again, like Arsenal keep so many clean sheets. They're so solid defensively that it tends to have those extra 3 points in the bag a lot of times when playing these guys. Eric Kuiper. This is my preferred defender option. Only 7 points against Man United. But it looked like 59 minutes, you have to remember. Like if he was 90, probably gets a 10 pretty easily. Gets a clean sheet, say, which I mean he'll do at some point. Like I know Brighton haven't been the best defensively, but they have a single clean sheet on the year when De Kuiper's played. But if they will keep a clean sheet eventually, I would expect if they do that against Leeds. And once again, it's one of the few set piece takers we have on the slate. It's him and Hartman are kind of the only two guys, and he's got the much more favorable matchup, and he's a lot cheaper. So yeah, that's kind of the defender I build around. Or a Sosa piece starts. He was really good against Liverpool as well. I'll be at the reserves team once again. But if he starts, the guy who crosses a ton, takes set pieces, I watch out for him if he's in. I think he's a great little option. Probably not going to play though, just because he kind of is their cup playing fullback. Coyote, who's kind of emerged as a pretty interesting DFS option over the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of for one reason. It's because of these long throws he takes. What'll happen is he gets a ton of key passes after Brentford just long throws. He takes both sides. It's almost like a corner. You don't get a cross or anything. He'll just whip it in there. A lot of times he'll flick it on, get a header, gets a key pass. He had 7 key passes since West Ham. A lot of them were from long throws. And a lot of the time, too, you have to remember is that he'll throw it in, he'll get cleared out, and they'll just pass back out to him from after he takes a long throw. He'll just cross it in right after he took that long throw. So everyone's still up. It's almost like another set piece chance. So Coyote is almost like a set piece taker because of that long throw strategy. It's the same thing with Sunderland and Mukiele too. Mukiele is another long throw guy. You see, he's kind of been popping off for DFS lately too. Also the same thing. Like he takes long throws, he ends up being forward and wide. The ball will bounce out to him a lot, and he'll just cross it after taking the throw in. And so it gets a ton of chances to get key passes, crosses, assists even from that kind of play. And it's not really how I've ever played DFS, but these long throws have become something that you're going to have to consider when making your DFS teams because it's a really big advantage teams are finding in the community these days. It's because it's another set piece basically, and you don't get your .7 cross points, but other than that, you have every advantage that you would for a normal set piece. So yeah, Coyote, I'm pretty interested in that for 3,600. After that, Muller Wolfie, kind of the same thing as Bueno. A little like out of favor. Like Boyna probably will start. He's the more likely starter in the league games. Wolfie was kind of just your cup guy who did really good against who was it? Who they play? Not Chelsea. Whoever they played, he was super solid against them. So he makes some sense if he somehow starts. But yeah, I mentioned the big names here at defender. I thought it was like one guy who I will shout out just for being dirt man. Chechua, he starts a right wing back, 2,500 right wing back. A solid option here. He was really good against Burnley as well in just 14 minutes. Like he's pretty active when he gets time. It helps that Wolverhampton are down most of the game too, so he's got pretty good flow there for attacking. And 2,500, like he is in projected. I think it's a solid little option, especially if he starts with like a back. If Wolf starts with like an extra center back here, he gets more opportunity to attack, which should help him out as well. He's probably a true, really solid punt D option. But yeah, guys, that's defender. Goalkeeper, crapshoot. Not going to say more, except maybe I think Rye is going to continue to be super popular in cash just because of Arsenal are just kind of just a guaranteed clean sheet at this point, really. Both teams to score, I think, in this game's like minus like 200 on no, which is crazy how much Arsenal are just kind of really starting to be loved by the books defensively. It makes a ton of sense. They've only given up 3 goals in 9 games, which is so crazy to think about. He's almost becoming a guy who's just worth it to pay up for just for an auto 10 points. Ever saying that? Nah, now that I've said that, he probably gave up 1 or 2 goals in Burnley just because I jinxed him. But yeah, I thought he was just worth mentioning just because he's Arsenal become a bit of an anomaly defensively. It's almost like that Chelsea team which gave up like 14 goals or something crazy like that a while ago. That whole like the defensive record. Arsenal could definitely break that. How good they've been playing. But now that I'm done rambling, let me just get a corner quick. Saka, bang. The Kuiper, bang. And I think the next spot is a lot tougher. It's hard to commit to a midfielder. So I'm going to be a little bit out there and put Kevin in my core, who I'm not going to have as much as Saka and the Kuiper, full transparency. I'll probably play him in cash if he ends up starting. But in DBP, like I'll mix up the second forward slot a little bit more than I do Saka and the Kuiper, who I love quite a bit more than Kevin. But like Kevin's probably my next best play here. Maybe not quite on the same level as those two guys, but he's a solid option. It's like I talked about before. I like the open play value. I like the price point. I like the matchup, which just makes me like him a lot. But yeah, guys, once again, hope everyone has a good Halloween and a good weekend. And I'll see you for the next one. Peace.